anyway, starting this video. Today is the 17th of April 2016, and this is the first time I've tried to use my action cam, my Sony action cam, with this bike. I've set it on my RAM mount. Here I have the RAM ball mounted to my handlebar, and a couple of weeks ago the wife and I took out a ride, and I was a little concerned about how well it would perform, because it seemed like it was vibrating a lot, but boy, it actually turned out pretty good. The only thing I don't have is obviously the microphone capability with that is yet. I'm working on being able to plug that into my camera with it on that mount, and then I could do some commentary if I'd like. But most of us that do this kind of video logs, usually have it mounted to their helmet anyway, and whether it be a GoPro or Sony, it's right. But it's a nice day. Just following a motorhome with a lift on the back with his motorcycle on the back, and he was barreling through my little community way too fast, and kind of irritating because you have all kinds of people taking rides and everything, and so anyway, my wife didn't necessarily want to ride today. She wants to play with her garden. Looking forward to getting vegetables planted and so forth. And she did quite well with it last year. I'm hoping the weather isn't as warm as it was last year. But here we are in the middle of April, and it's very nice out. So it could be a lot colder. I think we're around 72 degrees today, and it'll be nice. So, but I've enjoyed this bike. It's a 2011 Ultra Classic. I was able to buy it back in early March and traded my 2005 Heritage Softail for this, and ended up going back to my dealer that I bought all my bikes with over in Western Washington in Bellevue, Eastside Harley-Davidson. And I kept looking around, and even my local dealer here, Lone Wolf, they never seemed to have anything in the way of used bikes that I cared for, and they really didn't want to sell you used bikes. They want you to buy new, and that wasn't in the cards for me, and I just didn't feel like they were giving me the help for it. So I just looked around, went to a number, stretched out to a number of places, and as it turned out, I came across a couple of bikes that I had on the website. Started a dialogue with them. This happened back last fall, but as it turned out, the one I was looking at that time wasn't what I wanted to do, and so then they had something come up here in February, and I tried to get some direction with that, and couldn't quite get the dollars to match up. So as a result, they said, well, we know what you're looking for, and we'll keep an eye out for you. And so said okay, and so call from them probably the day after I had kind of played around with what they thought they could do for me, and they said, I think I got a bike for you. And so 2 or 3 days later, they sent me some pictures, and of course I had sent pictures of my bike earlier on, but they did a walk around, and I said, wow, I think we could do something with this. And they, dollar wise, we could more in line to what I wanted to do and what I could feel comfortable about doing. And so as a result, we made a trade. And the 2011, it's not a 2000, it's not an 03 cubic inch engine, it's a 96. Big difference. Yeah. Mine was a 95 kit on an 88, and it had ported heads and what have you. But you know, the main difference between a 96 and a 95 was that they stroked the engine with a 95 cylinders. And then when they went to the 103, they went to just a little bigger piston. Well, you know, if you really want to know the difference, I can't see a big difference between a 103 and a 96. This has got a lot of power for me, you know, it's got a lot of pep. I'll do a walk around with this thing. And but it's got a lot of power. I'm not trying to race down the road at 150 miles an hour, but even with 2 up on it, it's got a lot of pep to it for me. And so, but I did add an oil cooler to it, because on the 103s they did oil coolers as a standard, and I had an oil cooler on my 2005 Heritage, and it made a big difference there. And so it doesn't hurt to have one on. You run in warm weather and traffic or whatever, it's just another way of getting your oil temperature in check and not letting it get too hot. So, you know, I've done that, and I changed the mirrors, and I put chrome switch housings on. Those are a couple of things I did since I bought it. And I changed the mirrors out from the stock mirrors. My neighbor had a stock windshield. He has a 2012, but he wanted to go with a lower screen, and I didn't. I had a lower screen on this one when I bought it, and I didn't care for it, so took it off. And then it had leather bags up here, and it's just too much garbage up here as far as I was concerned. So I took that off, and I bought this from him, and it's turned out really well. Worked out just fine for me. And, you know, like everybody does their own bike, you know. So it didn't have a luggage rack on the tour pack, and I added that. Trying to think what else. Just little things here and there, but otherwise, the guy had this before. You know, he really took care of it and dressed it out, much like I did my 05. And so, you know, the changeover, or the trade, was much more pleasant than I had expected it to be. And I was really taken back when I saw the bike, on how well it looked and how well it was cared for. And my dealer, per my request, did a complete service work on it, you know, as far as the oil changes and all the issues, you know, oil filter, primary, and transmission. Did a service check on everything, made sure clutch and everything was in good working order, and tires have about 70% left in its in wear, so it's doing well. And so anyway, but cyclists out today, motorcycle or bicyclists. Anyway, it's been a fun bike so far. I've enjoyed it, and didn't know if would like the fairing so much, but actually I've always rode with a windshield on my other bike, and it's been a comfortable bike to ride on. It is the Cadillac of touring, so. And of course it's a 6-speed transmission, which I only had a 5 on my 05, so a couple little differences. Anyway, beautiful day. I'm hoping the video sound bite comes through okay. I'm not so worried about the video itself. I have my little remote control over here on my throttle bar, and I'm able to see what I'm looking at, but from what I can see, it's doing just fine. So one thing I have noticed with this, compared to a Softail, is you're sitting just a hair higher. I mean, it sits higher than the bike does itself, and so you can get into a lean on the curve. And I get into a habit of probably wanting to go into the curve a little too fast. I've caught myself a couple of times being really cautious about that, because I've gotten videos of friends of mine that have electric glides, and where people have either two up or by themselves, they've gone into a curve really hard and really leaned it, and they've lost it. And I don't want that to ever happen to me. I had that happen many years ago. It was on a Honda Goldwing, and it wasn't the fact that I hit a curve too fast. I was going in an intersection, and I had a right merge lane, so I didn't have to stop at the light. I could just right turn and go in the merge. With the traffic coming on me was moved over into my lane right away, and so I leaned in to make the turn. And obviously I got too far into the lane, and it went right out from under me, and didn't get hurt. Scratched up the bike a little bit. Had to get some replacement parts for it, which fortunately my insurance and their insurance took care of, but it wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault, but so anyway, I'm relearning and remembering and retuning myself onto the techniques of motorcycling and riding safely, and doing those important things that we all should do. But, I do have a new speedometer coming. There's nothing wrong with this one, of course, but I like the fact that Harley offers it only for certain markets, and like for England, UK, they have a miles per hour / kilometer reading. It's a dual scale, and miles per hour is primary and kilometers is secondary. And in Europe they have the reverse. They have kilometers as primary and miles per hour is secondary. And I don't know why Harley doesn't do it for the US market, or even the Canadian market. I think it ought to be a standard, and I think the government, if they don't do it, I think the government ought to make them do it. I'm close to the Canadian border, and going into Canada, and they're on the kilometer basis. It's just kind of nice to know that you're trying to remember all this other stuff, and maybe I'm being a little goofy about that, but I just think it's the way things should be. They do it for cars. Why don't they do it for the motorcycle? But anyway, so I've got that on its way, and it's just a matter of taking the outer shell off on the fairing and pulling the speedometer out. I've already put the mileage in it, or at least ordered it to where I thought it was, which is not going to be too much different from what I am now. they have oil temperature gauge that you can put on your fairing, in your fairing, versus the air gauge. But the owner of the bike before me had, like I said, did a lot of little tricky upgrades and updates on it. He put one of those LED oil temperature gauges and in the fill tube, you know, so you know where your oil temperature is and you know where your oil height level is, and it measures not only in temperature but in centigrade, so Fahrenheit and centigrade. So there again, I have that, and I didn't see it be a constant issue, but you know. But it is a fun bike to ride. I love to ride anyway. I mean, it didn't, whether it be a Harley or a Honda or Yamaha or whatever, they can say what they want. As long as you're riding on the road and two wheels, there's a freedom that you just can't express. And anyway. Afternoon. It's just like 12:30 in the afternoon, and it's very nice. Oh, I got a group of bikers. Nice day. Just out by myself today. Up everywhere. We had a little bit of rain 3 or 4 days ago, and of course now the temperature has kind of come up a little bit, and that just awakens everything.